I returned home after 4 days away, too tired to notice much at first. I dropped my bags in the entryway, sighing as I walked into the kitchen. The house felt strangely quiet. Normally, Lisa would be there to greet me with a hug or a kiss, asking how the trip went. But today, there was only silence. I noticed a neat stack of mail on the counter, just where she always left it for me. She was meticulous about organizing things, and it was one of those little habits I found endearing. Smiling to myself, I reached for the pile and began thumbing through the usual bills and catalogs. As I lifted the last envelope, a glossy business card slipped out and fluttered onto the counter. I picked it up, seeing the name of a hotel printed in gold lettering. Frowning, I flipped it over to see Lisa's handwriting. There, she'd jotted down a room number and a check-in date, just 2 days ago, while I was away. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe it was a card she'd kept from a previous business trip or lunch meeting. I tried to dismiss it, but the date on the back wouldn't let me. 2 days ago. Who goes to a hotel when they're supposed to be at home? My hands felt clammy as I ran my fingers over the card, my mind spinning with possibilities. Maybe it was for something harmless. No need to jump to conclusions, I told myself. But the thought was like a tiny spark in a dry forest, catching and spreading quickly. When she walked through the front door later that evening, I was in the living room, still holding the card. She gave me a warm smile. "Hey. You're back early. How was the trip?" she asked, setting her purse down on the couch. Her smile was so familiar, so casual. "It was fine," I managed, unsure whether to bring up the card now or wait. I wanted her to tell me the truth, to give me a reason to dismiss the gnawing feeling in my gut. I held up the business card, trying to keep my voice calm. "I found this in the stack of mail you left." She looked at it, her expression momentarily blank before she laughed lightly, a little too quickly. "Oh, that? It must have been something I picked up by accident. I honestly forgot it was there." "By accident?" I repeated, my eyebrows raising. "Lisa, there's a date on the back. And a room number." Her face tensed for a split second, then softened. "Yeah, you know, it's probably just. I met a friend there for coffee, nothing serious." "A friend?" I asked, my voice flat. "Which friend?" There was a brief pause as she looked at me, then glanced away. "You don't know them," she said, her tone dismissive. "Just an old friend from college." An uncomfortable silence settled between us. She was lying, I could feel it. I wanted to press her, to demand more, but something stopped me. The look in her eyes, something between irritation and unease, sent a chill down my spine. In that moment, I didn't recognize her. The next day, I felt the weight of the previous evening's revelation pressing down on me like a heavy fog. I had spent the night tossing and turning, the image of that business card replaying in my mind, drowning out any semblance of sleep. The tension coiled in my stomach, making breakfast impossible. Instead, I decided to take action. I called Lisa around noon, asking her to meet me for lunch at our favorite restaurant. The corner table by the window had always been our spot, a place filled with laughter, whispered secrets, and shared dreams. Today, however, it felt more like a courtroom, the air thick with unspoken words. When she walked in, wearing that red sundress I had always loved, I felt a familiar pull. But today, that pull was suffocated by the heavy reality of suspicion and hurt. She greeted me with a warm smile, her eyes bright and carefree, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. "Hey there. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was awful." "How was your morning?" she asked as she slid into the seat across from me. I forced a smile but felt a lump in my throat. "It was interesting," I replied, trying to maintain composure. I gestured toward the menu. "You want to order first?" "No, let's just share a few appetizers," she said, flipping through the menu. "You know how much I love the calamari here." "Sure," I mumbled, my heart pounding. I needed to confront her, but the right moment seemed to elude me. After a few minutes of awkward chatter, I finally set the menu down and looked straight into her eyes. "Lisa, we need to talk." Her expression shifted, a flicker of anxiety crossing her face. About what? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. About you and that hotel. I found a business card yesterday. She froze, her hand pausing mid-air as she reached for the breadbasket. A business card? What do you mean? I know you checked in there a couple of days ago, I said, my voice low and steady. You were with someone else. Her eyes widened, and I could see the realization wash over her, the mask slipping. Jake, don't. I interrupted, unable to keep the edge from my voice. I want the truth, Lisa. No more lies. I wasn't lying. She hesitated, looking down at the table, twisting her napkin in her hands. I didn't want to hurt you, by lying to me. I leaned forward, frustration bubbling. You think this is just about you trying to protect my feelings? You've shattered my trust. Do you even care? Of course, I care, she said, her voice rising defensively. I just made a mistake. It meant nothing. You have to believe me, nothing. You think a hotel room and a secret rendezvous mean nothing? I spat, disbelief mingling with anger. Who is he, Lisa? Just tell me. She finally looked up at me, tears pooling in her eyes. He's someone from work. It just happened, Jake. I was feeling lost. It was a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness? I echoed, incredulous. You think that's an excuse? You're telling me that you thought it was okay to cheat on me because you were lost? How long has this been going on? I didn't mean for it to happen. I never wanted to hurt you, she pleaded, her voice trembling. I was just looking for something I thought I lost. Is that what this is about? Finding something? Because it seems like you lost more than just yourself. You lost us, I said, my heart heavy with the weight of our shattered dreams. Jake, please, she whispered, reaching out across the table. I never wanted it to come to this. Then why did it? I asked, pulling my hand back as if her touch burned me. This isn't something we can just brush aside. You need to understand how deeply you've hurt me. The rest of the lunch passed in silence, the atmosphere thick with unspoken words. We shared a meal that felt more like a farewell than a reconciliation. I watched her as she poked at the calamari, tears silently spilling down her cheeks. My heart ached for the woman I once knew, but I was filled with a sense of loss, a realization that the person sitting across from me was now a stranger. As we finished, I knew I couldn't stay in this moment any longer. I had to walk away, to gather my thoughts and figure out what came next. I need some time, I said, standing up. I can't do this right now. Jake, wait, she called after me, her voice cracking. But I couldn't look back. The image of her sitting there, defeated, was burned into my mind, and as I stepped out of the restaurant, the reality of my fractured world began to sink in. The days following our confrontation were a blur of emotional upheaval and sleepless nights. I moved through the motions of my daily routine like a ghost, haunted by Lisa's tear-streaked face and the sound of her pleas. Work felt meaningless, and my home had turned into a cage of memories and echoes of laughter that now felt mocking. I met Alex for coffee a few days later, hoping to drown my sorrows in caffeine and camaraderie. As I entered the coffee shop, the familiar scent of roasted beans filled the air, and the warmth of the place wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. I spotted Alex at a corner table, flipping through his phone. His casual demeanor instantly eased some of my tension. Hey, man, he said, looking up with a smile. Good to see you. How's everything going? I shrugged, plopping down across from him. Not great, to be honest. I still can't shake what happened with Lisa. Have you talked to her since? He asked, concern etching his brow. I shook my head, running a hand through my hair. I don't know if I even want to. I'm so angry, but also confused. I thought I knew her. Alex leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Listen, I've been hearing some things around town. About her and that guy, yeah. What kind of things? I replied, curiosity piqued. The idea that others might know about her betrayal ignited a fresh wave of anger within me. "There's a rumor that he's been blackmailing her," he said, his tone serious. "That's why she didn't want to tell you everything." I stared at him, disbelief coursing through me. "Blackmail? Are you serious? What does that even mean?" "I don't have all the details, but apparently, he has some dirt on her, something that could ruin her career if it got out. That's why she's been so secretive. She's trapped." "Trapped?" I echoed, feeling the ground shift beneath me. The revelation twisted my heart into knots. "So, she didn't just cheat on me, she's been forced into this?" Alex nodded, his expression grave. "Yeah, man. I didn't want to say anything before, but I thought you should know. It complicates things, doesn't it?" "Complicates? That's putting it lightly," I replied, grappling with a mix of rage and sympathy. "So, she was scared to tell me the truth because of this guy? I can't believe she would let it get this far." "People do crazy things when they feel cornered," Alex said, reaching out to put a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "You need to decide how you want to handle this. If she's being blackmailed, maybe there's a way to help her." I leaned back in my chair, trying to process the information. "Help her? After everything? She's the one who put herself in this situation." I know, Alex said quickly. "But you love her, don't you? Maybe this changes things. Maybe it's not just about betrayal but about a real threat." The thought sent a shiver down my spine. I loved her, but could I ever trust her again? Did I want to be involved in a situation that felt so far beyond my control? The complexity of it all left me reeling. "I need to confront her again," I said finally, determination hardening my voice. "I need to hear her side. I need to know what's really going on." "Just be careful, Jake," Alex warned, concern flashing in his eyes. "You don't know how far this guy is willing to go." As I left the coffee shop, my mind whirled with questions. Could I still save our marriage? Was there hope for us, or had the damage already been done? The weight of it all felt suffocating, but I knew I had to find answers. Later that evening, I found myself sitting in my car outside our house, the dim glow of the porch light casting long shadows across the driveway. The air felt thick with tension as I replayed Alex's words in my mind. My heart raced as I stepped inside, determined to confront Lisa one more time. "Lisa?" I called out, my voice echoing through the empty hallway. She appeared from the kitchen, holding a glass of water. "Jake, you're home early. Is everything okay?" I took a deep breath, readying myself for the conversation that loomed ahead. "No, Lisa, everything is not okay. We need to talk about the guy you've been seeing and the blackmail." Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked like a deer caught in headlights. "How do you know about that?" I spoke with Alex. "He told me everything," I said, my voice steady but laced with hurt. "I need you to be honest with me. What's going on?" She hesitated, then sat down at the dining table, her expression shifting from shock to resignation. "It's complicated, Jake. I never meant to let it get this far." "Then tell me the truth," I insisted, my frustration bubbling over. "Was it just a fling, or was there more? What does he have on you?" Tears filled her eyes as she spoke, her voice trembling. "He has photos, Jake. Pictures of me when I was at my lowest, drunk at a work event. He said if I didn't do what he wanted, he would send them to my boss. I thought I could handle it, but it spiraled out of control." "What do you mean, handle it?" "You could have come to me. We could have figured something out together." I was scared, she cried, her hands shaking. "I thought I could just keep him happy and it would go away. I didn't want to ruin everything, and then it just happened." Silence hung heavily between us, the weight of her confession sinking in. I felt a rush of conflicting emotions, anger, betrayal, pity, all tangled together. "Did you ever think of me? Of what I would feel if I found out?" I asked quietly, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I didn't want to hurt you," she whispered, the remorse evident in her voice. "I was trying to protect us, even if it was misguided. I love you, Jake. I never stopped. I felt my resolve waver as I looked into her eyes, searching for the woman I had once known. There was fear there, yes, but also sincerity. Then let me help you, I said finally, my heart heavy with the weight of her choices. But we need to face this together, and we need to confront him. I won't let him control our lives anymore. A glimmer of hope flickered in her eyes, but the fear remained. You don't know what he's capable of. I'll do whatever it takes, I replied, my voice firm. We'll figure this out together, Lisa. The air between us shifted, and in that moment, it felt as if we were standing on the precipice of something new, a fragile thread binding us, but still there, a chance to untangle the web of lies and deception. But as I contemplated our next move, a sense of dread settled in my stomach. The road ahead was uncertain, but I couldn't turn back now. Not when I could finally see the truth, however painful it was. The next day felt like an emotional roller coaster, and my determination only grew stronger as I plotted our course of action. Lisa and I spent the morning discussing our strategy, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope as she described her interactions with the other man, Greg, a colleague from her office. We can't go in blind, I insisted, pacing the living room as I tried to formulate a plan. You need to tell me everything you know about him. Where does he live? What does he want from you? Lisa bit her lip, anxiety written all over her face. He's been at the company for a few years. I thought he was just charming at first. I didn't realize how manipulative he could be. His apartment is downtown, and he always acts like he's untouchable. Then that's where we're going, I said, determination hardening my voice. We'll confront him together. But first, I need you to be sure about this. You have to stand by me, no matter what happens. I'm scared, Jake, she admitted, her voice trembling. What if he does something crazy? What if he fights back? Let me worry about that, I replied, trying to project confidence. We need to take control of this situation. We're not going to let him intimidate us anymore. With a plan in place, we headed out, the tension between us palpable. The drive to Greg's apartment felt agonizingly long, the silence filled with unspoken fears and doubts. I stole glances at Lisa, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her knuckles pale against her skin. As we arrived at the towering apartment building, I parked and turned to her. Are you ready? She took a deep breath, nodding but still visibly shaken. Yeah. I need to do this. For us. Then let's go, I said, feeling my pulse quicken. We stepped out of the car and made our way to the entrance, where a sleek elevator awaited us. The cold metal interior felt oppressive as we ascended, the tension growing thicker with each passing floor. When the doors slid open on the 10th floor, we stepped into the dimly lit hallway. Lisa led the way, her steps hesitant, and I felt the surge of protectiveness rising within me. I wanted to shield her from any potential fallout, but I also knew we needed to face this together. Do you want me to knock? I asked, my voice steady. Yeah, she whispered, biting her lip again, her eyes wide with apprehension. I raised my fist and knocked on the door with a firm rap. We stood there in silence, the air thick with tension, until a voice called from within. Who is it? It's Lisa, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I need to talk to you. The door swung open, and there stood Greg, leaning casually against the frame, a smug smile plastered across his face. He looked disheveled, as if he had just rolled out of bed. Well. If it isn't my favorite little secret, he said, his tone dripping with condescension. Don't play games, Greg, I interjected, stepping forward, ready to assert my presence. We know what you've been doing. You need to stop this. His smile faltered, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of unease in his eyes. Oh, this is rich. You come here to confront me. What do you think you're going to accomplish? I'm going to make it very clear that you will leave her alone, I said, my voice low and threatening. You've been blackmailing her, and that ends now. Lisa stepped beside me, her voice shaking but resolute. You have no power over me anymore, Greg. I'm not afraid of you. His expression shifted, anger bubbling beneath the surface. You think you can just walk in here and threaten me? You have no idea what I'm capable of. Try me, I replied, my heart racing. We have proof of your actions. You're not going to get away with this. Proof? What proof? He scoffed, crossing his arms defensively. Enough to ruin your career, Greg, I said, feeling the surge of adrenaline as I continued. The moment you decided to mess with my wife, you sealed your fate. Lisa's breath caught in her throat as Greg's demeanor darkened. You think you can intimidate me? I could make your lives a living hell with a few well-placed phone calls, he threatened, his voice laced with malice. Go ahead, I challenged, my resolve unwavering. But remember this, Lisa is done being your pawn. We're fighting back now. Why would she even want to be with you after everything? He sneered, trying to regain control of the situation. I gave her what you couldn't. What I couldn't. I spat, my anger flaring. You mean manipulation and deceit? You think that's enough to replace a real relationship? For a moment, silence hung in the air as the tension crackled like electricity. I could see the gears turning in Greg's mind as he weighed his options, but I knew we had the upper hand. Lisa's hand slipped into mine, a small gesture that filled me with strength. Lisa deserves better than you, I said, my voice steadier now. And this ends here. We're taking back our lives, and you will not dictate our future any longer. Greg's eyes darted between us, calculating his next move. You're making a big mistake, both of you. I can make this very uncomfortable for you, he warned, but his bravado faltered. We're not afraid of you, Lisa replied, her voice growing stronger. We'll report you to HR, to the police if we have to. You're out of options. In that moment, I saw a crack in his facade. He shifted uneasily, realizing that the power he once held was slipping away. You think this is over? He sneered, trying to regain control. You have no idea what I can do, but I wasn't about to let him intimidate us any longer. No, you're the one who has no idea what we're capable of. We're in this together, and we're not backing down. With that, I turned to Lisa, and we walked away from the door, the weight of the confrontation beginning to lift from our shoulders. As we stepped into the hallway, I felt the rush of adrenaline slowly fade, replaced by a sense of empowerment. We had confronted the monster together, and though we still had battles ahead, we were no longer alone in this fight. For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. As we made our way down the stairs, Lisa looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and determination. Thank you for standing by me, Jake. I was so scared, but you gave me strength. I'll always have your back, I replied, squeezing her hand. We'll get through this, together. And as we stepped out into the light, I realized that while the road ahead was uncertain, we were finally ready to face it.